Hello, it's William here again, and let's continue with Physics Station AD. What I'm doing right now is continuing with the previous video where I was just taking care of the interface of what shows when you start the interface. So there are a few things I want to take care of. So first, I want to remove one of the skin files which is embedded into the actual file, and I'm not going to be using that anymore. So that was the loading PNG. So I'm going to remove that. And then on the interface, I want to separate the interface by what's on the screen. So I'm going to create a file for each layer type and also interface type. So let's create a new group here, layers. Then I can add some extra files. So it's going to be the main layer, when you start the program. Then I'm going to create a browser layer. Let me rename this main layer instead. I'm going to how should I call that? Just main. Not main, because main is also used in C++ for the initialization of application, so I don't want to mess around with the same file. So we have the browser and the initial layer, browser, and then we also have the data selector layer. So for now, I'm going to start with these three: the browser, the data selector, and the initial layer. So that should be enough to start. And then I'll remove the background file, because what I do now for those files is on the actual file I'm going to be loading the actual images. But there's also another thing I want to be doing, and that's how the images are being processed, because it's taking a lot of time to redo the layers for the interface, like the background image. If it's too large, it has to resize. And instead, I'm thinking on another solution, to have like 10 different files for one image that are already resized with a good quality, and then I pick the most close one and resize it instead. So for that, right now I have a timer that does that, and then replace the files. But instead of that, I'm going to do it in a different way. So let me check my plugin processor, and yes, the neighborhood dog is going crazy again. So the plugin processor is going to call initialize, which is going to handle the data folder, and it checks for the background image on the data folder, and right now it's hard-coded to default. So the first thing I want to do is fix that, because it's going to give me some headaches along the way. So instead, I can okay, that's not hard code. It's just that there's always a default skin, and it's checking for that, so it knows everything else is going to use the selected skin instead. Which, let me check, just double check if I'm loading this. I don't know why I'm doing that, but I'm going to check that in a moment. So let me remove this guy. I'm not going to using that anymore. Oh, there's a lot of stuff that I have to change, but that's okay. We're going to go slowly change one thing at a time. So I'm not no longer going to use the load graphics and load stuff like that. Okay, so I can remove that. And most likely I'm not going to use any of those either. Where is this? Load images. Load graphics. No. And also this guy not going to be used. They redo the interface. Well, actually, because this code I was using, in case you press the little corner to resize the interface, and would do just that. But I'm not going to use that anymore. That's going to give me some extra work, but in the end, it's going to look much better. Okay. So what I want these I also no longer need it. So just checking and painted background, draw image. Okay, that looks correct. But I'm going to be moving this to the new files I created. So I'm no longer going to use this guy. So, okay, let me check a few things. So, during the initialization, If there is no data folder, the data folder is going to be blank. So I know that when I create my plugin editor and initialize it, I'm not going to be using this initialization anymore. Not in here, at least. Well, it's actually good to have in there, because then when you select the data folder, you can initialize the interface as well. So if it's not empty, it's going to this is an audio process. Where is my editor? Okay, initialize file. So what it does, let's take a look. I'll load the skin settings file and start adding the stuff that is going to always show, at least close to that. So this should be changed, because what happens is that it's not going to work. What I want first, let me go to my register editor. All these files. I haven't done where they are, the layers files. I have to do these files too. But I'm going to remove the data folder from the music station AD. The word doesn't exist anymore. So there is the data folder. I'm going to remove that and see if the initialization is working correctly. Let me first fix the errors. Oh, here it is. Error setting. It's not settings, error loading data folder, actually. So it should be error. I'm gonna find the data folder. Oh, okay, that's correct. Error reading, that's the second message. Let me see what's crashing on the initialization now. Okay, let's check. Of course, it's crashed when they resize it. So I have to check. What I'm thinking right now is that I could create to make things easier to organize. Let me think here. I'm going to create an object, a class, that is going to hold the interface for the different layer types, for the main layer, for the browser, and stuff like that. So it's just easier to see what's going on. So okay, it's running now. Click to locate the required data folder. Okay. Where is my data folder? Here. Select folder. And it has initialized with a blank interface, which is correct right now. So what I'm going to do is create those classes, which is going to help me out. So it could be like a component, I guess, but no, not a component. Layer component. No, object, because it's not going to be a component. There's no public I'm going to be using. But then inside I can have the paint, in case I need to paint a background, which we need, of course, the background, and then resize to resize it. Then those are going to be virtuals. I could create initialize, but instead I'm going to check if the background of the layer object is empty. Then I load all the images that it requires. And so on. Then I'm thinking the top area which shows the global volume, the preset name, layer type, and the open multi preset layer. Those are going to be global outside of that. So I'm thinking how I'm going to handle that. Because in some situations the top area is going to change, like on the preset browser, as it adds more stuff to the top area. But well, I can figure out something. I think I'm going to divide the two areas because it's just easier that way. So I have the paint resize. Oh, and also I have to create the initializer I need to add any component to the screen. And then what I'm going to pass is the editor. I think that should work. And I'm going to keep the editor in case I need for anything in the future. forgot, I don't need to add this. So it should work. So now I can have an object it's going to be scoped pointer layer object. So by default it's going to be the main one, unless you have set to load a preset, then it's going to load the preset and show that preset details. So it should work correctly. Then I can have, let's start with the main one. It's going to be a part of this one. So layer main, public layer object. This way I can just handle it a bit better. Yeah, that should work. Then on my main layer here, where is this interface layers initial? Let's call this initial layer initial, so it's the same with the initial file. Then I can go ahead and do the include. And that's it. Can start populating. Oops. So we can check now on my plugin editor the initialization. So instead of all these, I'm going to check what is necessary. I can see the browser is in there, which I'm going to remove. So all I'm going to do is just create a new layer initial layer object equals new layer initial this editor. No. Wow, I was complaining. No server config matches argument list. Types are What is going on? It should be working. Let's see if compiling it fixes, because sometimes it does that. No, it should complain. No instance of storage measure argument list. Argument types are Hey, I'm doing fine. Just trying to figure out what's going here. So, okay, I created my class and it's not accepting these. Okay, I see what's going on. Actually, yes, that's my biggest project ever. It's very crazy looking. If you look on the Vusic site, it has all the details for it. Okay, so now it's compiling and creating the layer object. Okay, that's correct now. So now my initial layer, I will need a background image. Background. And what else do we need there? It's going to be two. Mostly the background. So in this case, also going to know show top area. And for the initial layer, the top area is not being shown, so it's false. And the background I loaded from the file. Here. So it's file number 4. Okay, so this is the file I need to load. And finish from I need to load from. Let me check how I'm loading my images. Oh, like that. Okay, so this data folder, this key name. So it's going to be editor audio processor, editor is key name plus background 4. So I can load in here. Should work correctly. Then there is not much going on, but on the paint I just painted background, so it's going to be draw image. Just a minute.